welcome to another First Five. Today we're in Matthew chapter 26, verses 36 through 46. And this is the story just before Jesus is arrested and eventually crucified. It's directly after he's told Peter that he's going to betray him, or that he's going to disown him, and after he knows that Judas is going to betray him. And Jesus goes to pray. And when he goes to pray, we find this story in Matthew 26, starting in verse 36. It says this: Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Could you men not keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he came back, he found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed the third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour is near, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hand of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes the betrayer." This is an interesting story to me for two reasons. The first is, in this moment, unlike any other, we see Jesus' humanity. We like to focus on the fact that Jesus is God, but Jesus was also fully man, as much as he was fully God. And in this moment, he's pleading with God the Father, because Jesus knows that he's called to something very, very difficult. He's called to die for the sins of all mankind. And he knows that the next day is going to be the end of him, the end of his life at this moment. He knows what he has to do. And nonetheless, the human part of him pleads in prayer and says, "God, if there's another way, let's do it another way." And I think we would all ask that. We would all want another way. But in the midst of this story of us finding Jesus fully in his human form saying, "God, if there's another way," because Jesus had to choose to follow God just like the rest of us do. In the midst of this, he has his disciples that can't do one simple thing. And I imagine this was really frustrating for Jesus, as he said, "All I need you to do is stay awake so that I can go pray and you can let me know if someone's coming." And time after time, he comes back and the disciples are asleep. They can't accomplish this thing. And I imagine somewhere deep down, Jesus is thinking, "You had one job. Can't you just stay awake?" And at one point he says, "Just pray for the strength to stay awake, because the body is weak, but the spirit is strong." And I imagine at some level he's also telling himself that. Because I don't know if you've ever given advice to someone that you think actually was for yourself, but I've done it. You think, "Man, actually, I think I'm speaking to me as much as I'm speaking to you." And I wonder if Jesus was having one of those moments where in that moment he was like, "I need the strength of the Spirit to do what is so very hard." And so in the midst of maybe some frustration with those close to him, as he was like, "I just need you to do the right thing and to stay awake and do what I asked you to do," he's thinking, "I have to go do what is very hard and very difficult, but for the glory of God." And thankfully, Jesus did what he needed to and saved the lives of all of us. Saved you and me from our sins, all because Jesus was willing to pour into the Spirit and use its strength and do what only he could do. And that was atone for our sins through his own death. So I hope that as we grow closer to Jesus, we become less like the disciples who can't even keep our eyes open when Jesus asks us to, and more like Jesus, who says, "I am willing to follow the Father wherever it leads me." Because Jesus was human too, and he had to make the decision just like each and every one of us are asked to make. And so I hope today that you say, "Yes, I will follow God no matter where he leads me." I hope this was helpful for you, and we'll see you later for another First Five.